seems legit.
Welcome to today's quick little video, or sewing candy. I am going to show you tips and tricks on how to sew a straight line. Now I'm just going to be using it on scraps of vinyl, but the principle works for everything. So firstly, what we can do is if you're super new to sewing and you want to get a straight line, first and foremost you need to be able to cut it straight. So a lot of the straight lines that I need to do, like rectangles and bags, I do use a ruler and a rotary cutter of some type to be able to get my straight line. So all of these pieces were cut with a rotary cutter. Because if you've got a straight edge to work with, it's going to help every other process. So one option that you have is to use a ruler and a pen. Now if you're doing this on clothing, make sure that the pen is erasable. But on bags, it doesn't necessarily matter, especially vinyl. You won't see the pen through the vinyl. And if you do, you probably shouldn't be using it on bags. So we can draw a line. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the end and I'm going to stitch forward 2 and then back 2 stitches. So it's three entry points, but it's 2 dots because the back stitch will now lock it in. And now I'm just going to watch the needle along that line and stitch down. So that is one option for getting a straight line. And then as you get more confident, you can speed up. This is also a good way to practice with your scraps. Also, make sure that you do back stitch. And now we have a beautiful straight line. So that's option 1. It does take longer because you have to draw every line, but it does guarantee that you will get the straight line. The next option is, on my machine here, I have a plate that has the lines engraved in it for the different seam allowances, so that tells me. So now all I need to do is line this up. Let's do 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to line up the edge of the fabric with the groove. Now we're not going to watch the needle. We are now going to watch and help guide the fabric along that line there. So we're going to go forward and back, lock in the stitches. And then I'm not even watching there. So I could quite literally put something like that there and still get a straight line because I'm watching here along that part. And then we're going to back stitch. So I didn't watch the needle. In these instances, if you watch the needle while you're trying to go against here, you will get a crooked line. But that is, again, lovely and straight because I was watching here. The other option is you can buy like a seam guide. So this is like a very strong magnet and you put it at your seam allowance like this. And so that won't move. You can see I'm kind of knocking that and it won't go anywhere. And then I just push the fabric up against the seam guide. Now with this option, as you can see, I can go very fast because that is where the seam guide is. Now, the downside to this is if you've got a lot of layers with a big bag, for example, I have been able to move that in the past, especially like where seam allowances cross over and it's like a very bulky patch, it will move your magnet. So it is a strong magnet, but it's obviously you still need to be able to get it up in general. So that is the other option. But I did get a lovely straight line, as you can see there. Now, if you've got a lot of bulk, and especially on domestic machines, I find that this helps on domestics. So let's just say we're going to sew all of that. Now, if I just come into this like that, we're not going to get anywhere. Because my machine is still, it's not domestic, but it's not super strong either. So if I line all of those up, what I'm actually going to do to start on this, because it is so high, is I'm going to come in a little bit and I'm going to start backwards. That's probably a little bit too much, but I'm going to start backwards because now I'm already up on the highest part and then I'm going to go forwards. Now, because we've gone backwards and forwards, that's still a back stitch, so we can just continue sewing along. And then we go down the hills and back stitch at the end. So that's a way, if your machine won't start from nothing, because if I do this from nothing, I nearly broke a needle. I don't know if you heard that. And now I've got a knot. See how it's not working properly? That was a perfect example because now it's stuck. And it's threaded my thread. So up here I've got like a curly bit going on. Basically that was a terrible idea. And that is why we don't do it. You can see firsthand, that's why we don't start from the edge. So this is the one that I started on. I went back and forward. And this is the one where I tried to just drive onto it. And that is, my machine couldn't have misbehaved at a better time. But yeah, so this is why we start on thick layers. We backstitch first to get close to the edge, and then we go forward. Now, obviously none of this was a joining exercise. This was just to show you how to get straight lines, but it is a good way to practice as well. I've got a really big knot of stuff there. I'm sure you've all had this problem before. I'm going to have to get some tweezers to get that out. But that pretty much sums up how to get a nice straight line in several different ways. These you can buy from lots of different craft shops. You can get pretty ones. Just make sure that it does have a strong magnet. Otherwise, it's not going to do what you need. But there you go. See you next time.